All right, good morning. Good morning. What is going on, everybody? Good morning. Thursday, July 17th, 8 a.m. on the dot. We got a packed show today. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you for being here. By the way, when's the last time I had this going? Look at that steam going. You guys remember that early on? Always had steam coming. My tea was going through going all over the place. Finally got some nice tea. I already had my cup of coffee today, so cup of Joe out of the way. Now we got some tea going. So cheers to everybody here. Thank you for being here. Whatever you're drinking this morning, whatever you're enjoying this morning, hopefully it's a good morning so far. So we are on Thursday. Got a couple days left till we get to the weekend. I think by the time this weekend is done, Summer League will be done as well. We got a lot going on today, so I'm going to give everyone just a quick rundown what we got going on. We'll get into some of your comments. We'll look at some of the comments here, and then we'll get the show started. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. Please do me a favor. And, if you ask, you will receive. I've been asking for people to subscribe. We're closing in on 33,000 subscribers. So I appreciate everybody that's been handling that, been part of the show, whether from the beginning or during the playoff run or whether we're sitting right here and you're just making it to the channel. So either way, if you can subscribe to the channel, we'll greatly appreciate that. We've got our topics right here. Beautiful topics right here. Let me give everyone a quick rundown what we're going to do for the show today. We'll probably go to right about 9 o'clock today. I can't really stay too much longer after 9 today, and then we're going to call it a day. All right, Bradley Beal. I did a video yesterday, probably about a half hour, maybe 45 minutes after the news came out. We went live, talked about Bradley Beal, and really the only reason why I did it just because his association with the Lakers, and I think he was probably the last of these dominoes to fall in the NBA as far as this free agency period. Not that there still can't be trades or big names or anything like that, but Beal was one that we've been talking about for a while. He was not interested in the Lakers. What does that mean? What does that mean? What should we take away from that? Bradley Beal not interested in the Lakers, and we could spend a little bit of time on that. Does it mean anything? Does it mean nothing? Is it just a situation and predicament that there was a better fit with the Clippers? Is that something that Lakers should take personal? I will tell you this. I will say that I do feel like there's a lot more fans now, Laker fans now, that are kind of playing a little bit of the, we didn't even want Bradley Beal. I don't know if I fully believe that, but we'll talk a little bit about that. Could this be LeBron's final year? Dave McMenamin put out something on ESPN. So there's a long article here. Let me read here. I think we have to start thinking that this could be his last year in the league. I will tell you for everything that, and I've been critical. I think I was doing a video yesterday talking about some of the drama that I think Bron has brought in this summer. Rich Paul, some of the comments or the statement that he had when he signed his extension. I will say that this makes it make a little bit more sense. If this is LeBron's final year and that is part of his game plan, then maybe I understand a little bit more of his narrative that he had in mind. Sammy's going to join the show. He joins the show every Thursday, so he'll join the show in about 10 minutes or so. So we'll wrap together about some of this stuff. Point of attack defender. I guess that's exactly, literally the term described of what the Lakers are looking for, the type of player that they're still looking for in free agency. I don't know. There's a couple different angles Lakers can still take here before this summer and before this offseason is all complete. One is to go sign somebody in free agency. The other is also still going out there and trying to make a trade. So I will list out some of the different free agents that are available. I won't go through restricted free agents. Just that doesn't make any sense. But just players that are still available that clearly when the dust settles, we'll see if some of those players have a squad or if they're sticking with the squad that they're at. And then I got a couple things NBA news related. What did I see here? Saw something on Joel Embiid, kind of his interesting relationship with James Harden. Chris Paul, I think looks like he's probably favored to go to the Clippers as well. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, I don't know. Thought that was a little bit interesting. They had a little bit of exchange on Twitter. And then Richard Jefferson said something along the lines that the U.S. will not win the gold in 2028. So we got a few things to hit on. Again, appreciate you guys being a part of the show. We'll get this bad boy started. Let me take a look at some of the comments here before we get started, and we'll go from there. Let's see what we got. Slee hates the LeBron drama and still puts him in every title and every thumbnail. Well, I didn't tell you it's not a story. I mean, I didn't tell you that. Am I not supposed to talk about it? What do you want me to do? If whether I like the drama or not, it doesn't matter whether I like it. I'm putting together a show here. That's part of the job. You want me to just pretend that there hasn't been drama with LeBron? That there hasn't been drama around the Lakers? I mean, am I doing my job if I'm not doing that? All right, let's get a quote here. By the way, you can be critical. That's okay. I got no problem with any of that stuff. I got to be honest with you. I kind of like when that happens. There's no shortage of remarkable ideas. What's missing is the will to execute them. Seiko, thank you for sharing that, brother. I appreciate you. Less pressure on the Clippers. Okay. Born poor is not your choice. Staying poor is. Can I just say something here real quick? The fact that we got a couple people that will just lob these quotes here to start the day, got to be honest, kind of helps my day a little bit. Helps my day, and then I don't have to look for it as well. So I appreciate you guys doing that. Does Ayton make LeBron comfortable enough going into the season? All right, let's see this. Been saying it's his final year. Announcement likely coming in December. All right. Thank you for acknowledging LeBron causing drama. LeBron last year, he would already be saying he can never have enough attention. Listen, I think it's safe to say, whatever your thoughts are in regards to LeBron James, I was talking about this a little bit yesterday. One of the greatest to ever play the game, period. Also loves himself a little bit of attention. I think we could both say that. I think you could say both of those things and be right by saying those things. Okay, let's get the show started. Real quick here, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I do want to mention it. Let's talk Bradley Beal here for a quick second. Did pick the Clippers yesterday as part of this report. And part of my reason why I'm not kind of coming out the gate here, I'm going to get into the LeBron stuff, and I'll read your guys' comments. I know this is people have a passionate take one way or the other on how the offseason has gone and whether you think Bron's helped the situation, hurt the situation, whatever the case is. But I'll do that also too. Sammy and I can kind of go back and forth and have that conversation. And I'll read your comments because I do want what Laker fans feel in regards to that. And they might be kind of wild opposites, and that's okay. That's completely okay that people have different opinions on it. I think it actually makes the topic a lot more interesting. Real quick on Bradley Beal, and then we're gonna put a pin on the Bradley Beal stuff, and then I don't have to talk about him anymore because I feel like I've been talking about Bradley Beal for a year and a half for no reason at all. So let me just say this on Bradley Beal. Obviously picks the Clippers yesterday. What do you read into it? Do you read anything into it? Let me read you guys an email. Read you guys a tweet real quick. Brett Siegel put this out yesterday. He said that Beal did not show a lot of interest in playing for the Lakers despite the team holding extensive conversations with him and his representation. I guess he took Zooms with maybe about a dozen teams, something along those lines. There was about 20 teams interested. Listen, nobody's trying to tell you Bradley Beal's Hakeem Olajuwon in his prime, but the fact that you only got to pay $5 million, that's what made him so attractive. I think if he was out in the open market, he was an unrestricted free agent, and you had to pay him $30 million a year, I think there'd be a lot less teams that are interested. It's the fact that he was only going to make $5 million is what opened up the door because he's in a buyout. That's what opened up the door. Brett Siegel also put out there, and I'll read this because I think this tells a little bit of a storyline. The Bucks made a very strong push to side Bradley Beal, who was interested in Milwaukee. League sources told Clutch Points. The Heat were only able to offer a minimum contract after trading for Norman Powell. Golden State also wasn't willing to offer more than the minimum, and I guess it was tough for them because of the situation with Jonathan Kuminga, who's a restricted free agent, so they're trying to figure all that stuff out. The piece that I took from all this is that he did not show interest in playing for the Lakers. If you told me Lakers could have got Beal for $5 million a year, somewhere around there, give or take, I think that would have been a really, really good addition for the Lakers. Not that I think Beal would have made the Lakers the favorites to come out of the West, Not that I feel like this was going to be now all of a sudden Lakers are the team to beat, but because you would have got talent at a very valuable price. That's it. Kind of reminds me a little bit of DeAndre Ayton. I don't want DeAndre Ayton for $30 million, but I'll take Ayton for $8 million. And there's no pressure. There's no long-term deal. It's really just upside for Ayton. Even if the Ayton situation goes awful, all right, it really wasn't much of a risk taken. And I think with Bradley Beal, a dude that can put up 17 points a game, that shoots over 40% from the three-point line, his issue is going to be availability. But, I think there's something to be said that the Lakers, he looked at Milwaukee, he wanted to be out even on the West Coast, and then he chose the Clippers. And the Lakers, you can almost put it, wasn't really in strong consideration. How much does it mean? I don't know. Is there a perception right now around the Lakers where they're in between, they're transitioning from one star to another? Does some of the offseason of the Lakers, whether they didn't make trades or they held on to some of their assets, does that give an indication, hey, they're not win now mode? Does some of the stuff or the question marks around LeBron James and what's this final? Is this going to be his final year? Is there more to LeBron? Do some of those question marks come up and there's some pause and some hesitation from a guy like Bradley Beal? I don't have an answer for you, but I do know that he chose the Clippers and did not choose the Lakers. Now, I think for most people who are looking at this situation, and I know I mentioned this on this show, the moment I think I saw that they traded, and this is widely reported, when they traded Norman Powell, it cleared up a starting spot, and there is no question mark. Beal was going to be able to come into that situation with the Clippers. On paper for the Clippers, now here's what the Clippers are going to deal with. They're going to deal with how often is Bradley Beal going to be available? How often is James Harden going to be available? How often is Kawhi Leonard going to be available? They got a really good team on paper, but they're old. And right now, being old, I want to say they're the oldest team in the NBA, if I read something right yesterday. Right now, winning in the NBA is not, hey, the older you are, the better chance that you got. Nope, it's youth, it's athleticism. But they got a really good team on paper. We'll see what eventually comes of it. The fact that Bradley Beal kind of looked at the Lakers and was like, no, thank you. You could apply that to as many different ways as you want. But I do know this, and for I'm sure a good handful of Laker fans that are now sitting back and saying, wow, we didn't even want Bradley Beal. I didn't even have any interest in him. I don't know how much I believe that. I think that's more if Beal would have signed with the Lakers, I think there would have been a lot of Laker fans that would have said, like I just said, hey, what do you got to lose? A few $1 million. You're going to have guys like Luka and LeBron getting so much attention that Beal's going to get some great looks. Got Ayton in there. However you want to use Austin Reeves. Reeves is a starter. Beal's a starter. Whatever. It would have gave the Lakers some options, but that's not going to be the case. He picks the Clippers. So we can put just kind of a final bow on that conversation. I'll read a couple comments on the Bradley Beal thing, and then we'll keep it moving. Let's see what people got to say. Beal isn't with the $5 million. It's just coping because Clippers got him. They got a steal. Doesn't mean deep playoff run for them. Yeah, let me tell you something. It doesn't mean anything for the Clippers. And I don't think anybody can make a case here. I was listening this morning. I was driving into the studio, and I'm listening to a little NBA Sirius XM radio, and everybody just kind of kept saying, like, hey, I love what the Clippers did. Hey, I'm just going to give you an example. I love what the roster looks like on paper. But if you want me to make some decisions between, do you like the Thunder or the Los Angeles Clippers? It's not even a conversation. If you want to make a conversation that let me just kind of use another example here. It's the Denver Nuggets, who I can depend on a Nikola Jokic. I've seen it before. He's made a championship run. He's done what he's done, all that stuff. If you want to make that case, or the Clippers, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go with Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. But the Clippers have a team, period. And I think that, I'm not going to sit here and just pretend like they don't. But if we're hypothetically, if we're in mid-May and we're in the playoffs and you say that the Clippers are eliminated, I don't think also anybody would be surprised by that. I think that's kind of become the norm for the Clippers. You can't give them the benefit of the doubt. They've never been to the NBA Finals. And I think that they're just trying to accumulate talent, and they'll probably end up with Chris Paul as well, another player that's wildly old. And then we'll see what they're able to do and if they're healthy for the postseason run. So that's where the Clippers are right now. Beal obviously choosing the Clippers over not just the Lakers, but over the Bucks and a couple of these other teams is, obviously that's you can make of that what you'd like. Beal and Leonard will be injured all season. Could be right. I mean, Kawhi was healthy this past playoff run, and they lost in the first round. Did they lose in 7 games? Sure. Still lost in the first round. Beal is just too inconsistent, not a player to rely on. Let's get a couple more of these here. Dodge the bullet if you ask me. I'm glad we didn't sign Beal. I don't think there was anything to dodge. I think that, at $5 million a year or 5 point, whatever that number is, I don't think, even for the Clippers, if it goes awful, it's like, all right, well, not a big deal. There's really no risk. That's the only thing I would say. Okay. See, we got a couple more here. Beal making $5 million a year means what if he can't stay healthy? Lakers need healthy players. They do need healthy players. And they need guys. I think the Lakers are taking a little bit more of a youthful route. That's probably why they got Jake LaRavia and decided the Dorian Finney-Smith that they didn't want to go with, even though Dorian Finney-Smith's only 32 years old. Okay. Want to welcome in, let's get Sammy Long in the mix here, get his thoughts on how that all went down over the last, call it 24 hours or so. And then we'll start talking about some of this LeBron stuff as well. Sammy Long, good morning, my brother. Where are you? There you are. No, you're not. There you are. What's up, buddy?
Sliwa, what's up, dude?
What's going on, brother? How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Loving the show as always.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Okay, so let's get you in the mix here. Let's quit screwing around here. If we're going to talk Bradley Beal, let's talk a little Bradley Beal. I want to get your opinion, your thoughts on it real quick on 2 things. Number one, the fact that he did finally make a decision and he joined the Clippers, which I don't think was a complete shock. And the reports out there that, wasn't really that interested in the Lakers. Does that mean anything?
I'm not too surprised by it, actually, because I think everything that you were saying before I came on can be true. I think for the Clippers, it's a kind of ad where, hey, this guy did average 18 points a game, even though he was bad in Phoenix. That was a whole culture fit.
I agree. The whole thing in Phoenix was just really, really bad. Yep.
Yeah, and I think if he's just being asked to be a pure scorer and not be that third superstar of a team with Booker and Durant, I think he could be a solid player. So I get why the Clippers did it. I think it's a nice ad for them. But
and probably slots right into the starting lineup. And I'm not sitting here trying to sell you on the Beal Harden. If you told me 5 years ago it was Beal Harden, I'd look at it different. Obviously, the names are there, but that doesn't mean that that's going to translate in today's NBA.
Well, and if you're looking at Lakers, if you want to be on the West Coast, Lakers to Clippers. The Clippers, and you're not rooting for this, but have a massive injury history. Kawhi Leonard can't stay healthy. James Harden's had this problem. So if you're looking at a way to resurrect his career, there is a player option on that. So ideally for him, it's kind of like a DeAndre Ayton situation where if he plays great for the Lakers this year, he's definitely opting out of that deal and going to want something new. You said this when it happened, if he's back on that same deal next year, picking up the option, he probably didn't have the season.
Something went wrong. He probably didn't have the season we all wanted him to. I think Bradley Beal sees a much more of an opportunity there. And compared to the Lakers, I see the chat talking about Austin Reeves. Like, he's not playing in the fourth quarter of Austin Reeves. You take 2 players who don't play a lot of defense, but are young scorers. I'd rather have Austin Reeves out there for scoring and the development of Austin Reeves than I would Bradley Beal. So I think there's much more of an opportunity for him on the Clippers. I'm not super sold on the Clippers as some championship winning team, but I feel like just because we say the same thing about them every year. Yeah, and frankly, that like I said, they don't deserve the benefit of the doubt until they win it all, right? And this comes with the territory. I think if we're going to go as far as not giving OKC, a 68-win team, not giving them any benefit of the doubt until they actually win it all, then you obviously can't do that with the Clippers. And I get Kawhi's won. That's fine. I get that, Brook Lopez has a championship under his belt, but it also just depends. When was the last time you did it, and what were the predicaments?
I don't know how you feel, but I would rather, like, I think a big loss for them, and I know they got John Collins back in the deal, is Norman Powell. Norman Powell, people forget, until Kawhi kind of came down the stretch and was really good the last month, 2 months.
Powell was really good for them.
He was a leading scorer over Harden and everyone. So it's people are acting like, who's also 32, Norman Powell, like that's not some loss. I get it. They're a complete team if they're healthy, but they were healthy last year in the playoffs, and that's why everyone was so high on them. And they got blown out in the 7th game against Denver. So
yeah, I think the way they probably looked at it is, would you rather have Norman Powell, or would you rather have John Collins and Bradley Beal? So I think that's the way they looked at it. I know from a size perspective, really their only size was Zubats. They had more size, but at least size that they were depending on. So we'll see that how that eventually plays out. Okay, so one of the topics for today, and I think we'll definitely be hitting on this. I spent a lot of time over this last week and a half, 2 weeks, talking about LeBron and talking about the situation, and a lot of reports out there. And over the weekend, I think there was just a little bit more crumbs that were still left over. And at the end of the day, yesterday I spent a lot of so that's it. What was the whole point of this? I do think there was definitely some unnecessary drama, but it comes with the territory, and Bron is still powerful enough that if he says something, people are going to listen. It's just that's how it goes, and I think he wields that power like he should. Not exactly his personality might be a little bit different than some of the other personalities there, but he's a very powerful person. I read this morning, and we could we just kind of look at this, and I'll get your thoughts on it. Here's what Dave McMenamin put in a piece on ESPN. I think we have to start thinking that this could be his last year in the league. Rich Paul, James' agent, told me there was no extension talk because they didn't ask for an extension. They didn't broach the subject. Now you could say, why didn't the Lakers offer it? Sure, you could. But Paul's point to me was this wasn't a point of tension. It's not something that they were pursuing. So I think you look at it as, there's a very limited time remaining in his career. We kind of already knew that. We knew that basically since he reached 20 years in the league. He's gone into every offseason contemplating retirement. Let me just start with this, because I think there's a lot, and I don't know if I've, since we haven't chatted in a week, I think it's good to get your opinion on this. What have you made of all the chatter so far, and maybe you can call it the last week, in regards to some of the conversations around Bron?
Yeah, it's always interesting. The last few weeks, it feels like, in the last week we saw the Windhorst report that the Lakers were stressed about the Luka extension, then LeBron showing up to camp. It feels like a little bit of a power struggle, especially after it came out that the Walter Group, that was an interesting report. They let Luka know that they were selling the team to the Walter Group. They didn't tell LeBron.
And then there was a report that added to that LeBron did know. I think I think the only difference there, and by the way, I think, it seems like with the Lakers, and this is a case all the time, it's like everybody wants to know every single detail. The only difference between LeBron and Luka is Luka put something out public acknowledging that the Walter Group had taken over, and LeBron did it. But LeBron was also notified that the ownership group, that there was a change in ownership. Yeah, by the way, and it would just be, honestly, it would just be a really bad look, I think, from the organization if they were to tell Luka and not tell LeBron. Like that would be, if I got to defend LeBron in some shape, way, or form, the dude's still on the team and he's still LeBron James. So
yeah, I think it's totally between the power struggle. It's of LeBron. We kind of talked about this last week. LeBron has been, rightfully so, the number one player, the guy that you build your organization around. Certainly in the NBA, among even other sports, I think the only other kind of piece you could say, maybe quarterback in the NFL, is where you kind of build your organization around him. And he's been the best player in the league for a long time. So, when he went to drafted Cleveland, Miami, back to Cleveland and the Lakers. And now Luka's just younger. He's 26. He's the future of the franchise. They're obviously trying to sell him. He hasn't signed his deal yet. They don't know if he's going to sign the extension. They think it's going to be that kind of shorter term to come up in 2 years and really, really kind of get the bag. But yeah, I think it's always something with the LeBron camp. I'm happy he's there. And I think also, I don't know what the reports are real or how much of this is the Cavs trying to just throw it out there. I don't see the Lakers, if they were to trade him to the Mavs or the Warriors, one of his kind of destinations. The Cavs and the Knicks were the other two. The Knicks, there was a report yesterday that Mikal Bridges, they're waiting on the extension because they want to see if Giannis comes available.
Saw that. Which is smart.
Totally smart. And
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland, it makes the most sense. Where he's from, goes back there, but they said they only want him in a buyout. So if you're the Lakers, why the hell would you buy LeBron James out? That does nothing for you versus getting young players back.
I will say this. I will say that this report, I think there's a little bit. So obviously, if you're watching here, I got the report up there. I'm grabbing it from Hoopside, but it's an article on ESPN, so you could see some of the quotes that are on there. I will say that of everything that has happened, and the passive aggressiveness and the when Rich Paul put out the statement when they were signing that extension, I do think that this brings it a little bit full circle, because if this is his final year, this is his 23rd season in the NBA, still putting up phenomenal numbers. You can, there's usually one of two camps with LeBron. Either he's never made a mistake in his life or the guy can't do right. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd like to try to be somewhere in the middle on that. But I think there is something a little bit more full circle about this. If hypothetically this is it for him, then I get it. I understand why he wants, Lakers to go all in, why he doesn't want this last season to be, he wants them to shoot every bullet that they have if this is it. And it does, honestly, it does put the Lakers in a kind of a tough position, because if let's just say LeBron has at some point makes an announcement like, I am done playing after this year. I don't want to play anymore. 23 years is enough. My body, this, that. I've done enough for the game. I've done enough for my career. Wherever this thing ends up, it ends up. But I think this portion, I would understand it from both sides. Like, I would get it from LeBron saying, just shoot off these final bullets and let me see if I can, make one more deep run in the playoffs. And then I could also see it from the Lakers saying to themselves, you got to understand, every team knows that if we're going to go make a deal, it's probably not going to be a fair deal. And if these assets are going, we don't have any more assets left. It makes sense on both ends of it.
Yeah, and it's nice to, if this is true, that it's really his last season, it's felt like the last few years we've heard. I mean, a couple of years ago, there was a real conversation in the offseason, was LeBron, was this it? It was like 2 years ago. And at some point, you just kind of got to know, because the Lakers, all reports are like, this is the best case scenario for the Lakers. If he's in for this year and says, this is the last year, let's go all in. I think the Lakers have a chance. I don't think that they're a favorite. I think they're probably fourth in the West right now, probably behind the Nuggets and Oklahoma City. I don't totally believe in Houston, but if you want to put Houston above them, that I certainly understand that. And
say it again. Where do you have Lakers in the West?
I had a fourth. I think fourth is probably reasonable.
Finish your point, and I think that's a good conversation. So we'll because I want to. I think we'll definitely have a different view on that. But keep going.
Okay, but it's nice to know, like, if they're going all in for this year, because they've been the last 3-4 seasons, feel like they've been kind of walking the line of build for LeBron, win now, but then also build for the future. There's been the reports they're trying to clear up another max salary level spot to pair alongside Luka, which would line up with the timeline if he retired after this year. So if that were to happen, I think it would be the best of both worlds. But we'll see if he stays true to it.
All right, let me look at a couple of these comments, and then we'll get into kind of what we think Lakers would be at from a Western Conference perspective. If Braun wanted to be a Knick, I'm sure Palenko would look to get Bridges. Reeves and Bridges played well together for USA FIBA. I will say this. I do think there's something about, if LeBron really wanted to make a trade, really asked the Lakers for a trade, listen, there would be a benefit to the future for the Lakers if they can acquire some other talent, some younger pieces. I think the bigger question is going to be, is there a team that can match 52.6 and still compete for a championship? Like that's really the question. The question is, I mean, maybe you can make the case for the Warriors. And I know it's not apples to apples, because I think if you put it in the trade machine, it won't go through. But let's just say with the Warriors, do you want Jimmy Butler or do you want LeBron next year? I'd rather have LeBron. But yeah, I don't really know what benefit that really is to the Lakers to have Jimmy Butler on the books for the next couple of years. I don't know, what I just don't see a benefit to the Lakers in that. So I think that would be the real challenge. Even if Braun wanted to, hey, I'm out of here, I want to leave. And there are all reports now basically saying the guy's going to be there for training camp and don't expect him to go anywhere. I don't know really how you're going to be able to match some of that stuff anyways. And I'm talking about that more from LeBron's perspective to be able to compete for another championship.
Well,
Go ahead. I'm going to find
well,
another
just in
comment.
terms of like the NBA, this what makes it kind of hard. People complain about the aprons and having to match salaries and trades. This isn't the NFL where if you traded a veteran aging quarterback for draft picks or you wanted just young players, right? The Lakers, if they were trading LeBron and got a bunch of young talent back, or they would probably do that in terms of if they didn't think they were going to win it all this year. But right, getting Jimmy Butler, what does that do? That just makes you worse, and he's still an aging veteran player. So it doesn't really make sense with the NBA the way it's set up.
All right. So one of the things we were hitting on, and we could stay on this as well. We kind of stay on this topic. So Lakers in the West right now. I actually think, and everybody could feel free to put their thoughts on this. I look at the Western Conference. I would say that there's a couple different tiers. I would say the first tier by themselves is OKC. I'm gonna leave OKC alone. I'm gonna just put them in their own tier. I'll start with OKC and then I'll kind of start going. So let's just say Oklahoma City Thunder are by themselves. After that, I would put Houston and Denver in that kind of second tier there. And honestly, I think I'm leaving them alone. I think there's a gap between Houston and Denver and everybody else. And I think there's a gap between OKC and Houston and Denver. So I'll give OKC the credit there. After that, I can see how you could start making a case for a few different teams. Maybe I'm by myself on this one. I'm putting Clippers fourth. I think Clippers are the fourth best team in the Western Conference. I think, again, that there's a lot that's got to go their way, and we'll just go from there. And then I feel like there's other teams that are grouped together. I don't think you can say Lakers are better than Minnesota based off of what we just saw in the playoffs. Now, I don't think Minnesota got better, and I do think the Lakers got better because they got a center in DeAndre Ayton, but I got to see it to believe it, to be honest with you. So I think I actually feel like I'm starting the conversation about the Lakers probably around sixth. And I would say fifth or sixth is where I would see the Lakers in the West. And I haven't mentioned, I don't know what's going to happen to the Golden State Warriors. I don't know what really the Memphis Grizzlies are, to be honest with you. I do think San Antonio is going to be a team that finds a way to kind of sort of be in the mix.
Yeah.
Who am I missing? I'm probably missing. Am I missing? Oh, I haven't even said Dallas, but I think that's going to be a lot of health and everything else that comes down to them. I don't think I'm as high as you when it comes to the Lake Show in the West.
I'm fine if you want to go 5 or 6. The reason I say 4 is this. The Clippers, I just don't believe in. That's just personally me.
I don't think that's like I think you can make a fair argument if you say you're not sold on the Clippers. I want to say they're the oldest team in the NBA.
And they, like, last year felt like their year. They were pushing Denver. They were finally healthy. I just don't see them getting better trading Powell for Beal. I think that's maybe a wash. I think they maybe get a little bit worse. I'd probably rather have Norman Powell. Honestly, if you take name value away, I would like that. Collins, like on paper, if the playoffs just started in the first game of the season, the Clippers would be lethal. The Warriors are interesting because we never really got to see them together with this group. I mean, we didn't get to see that because Curry got hurt. That group could be interesting, but again, they're pretty old. So are they going to make it through a whole season? They would be hell for someone in a series. Yeah, I agree with you that the Thunder are certainly in a tier by themselves. The Nuggets feel like they're really good. They took them 7 games and didn't even have a coach, and they got better. I mean, Houston, I don't know if Kevin Durant is just a number one on a team anymore. Like, can win it all. I feel like that team looks like they're like kind of the sexy pick. And then I hear you with Minnesota. If you want to put Minnesota above the Lakers, I have no problem with it because they beat them in 5 games. So you got to own that. But I've never seen in a series.
Playoffs started, Sammy, and 15 minutes later, the playoffs were over. I'm like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
What do I do for the entire month of May?
I know. The Lakers didn't make it fun on us for the summer.
You got freaking content to deliver.
I've never seen a series where there was such a glaring weakness.
Sure.
At one position.
Of course.
And I'm not saying that they win the series if Aiden's there. I mean, they beat them in 5 games, so it's kind of crazy to say that. But I didn't see Minnesota getting that much better, and I feel like there's a cap on what Minnesota's been able to do, and I think we saw that when they ran up against Oklahoma City in the Western Conference Finals.
RJ wants us to hit on a couple more trades. What do you think?
RJ.
RJ, you got any trade propositions? RJ, give me a couple trade propositions that you have.
We're worse than
RJ
ESPN.
loves.
Are we Fox or are we worse than Fox?
RJ loves the trades. All right, so I love when people get mad at me for just like reporting stuff or actually just reading what's the current content. All right, so a couple things here, couple takeaways from that. So I think at the end of the day, just kind of looking at the rest of the Western Conference, I think the one point that you can make, which is fair, other teams got question marks too. So yes, the Lakers have questions. Yes, I still like, in a weird way, I like their roster right now coming into this upcoming season than after the trade deadline, just simply because there was glaring weaknesses. And I still think there's ways for them to improve the roster. I still think there's, obviously other players that they can add to the team. So I think there's a little bit of, you still got some hope of finding ways to figure it out. But I think the point that you're making more than anything else, other teams aren't perfect as well. And it's going to be, they're going to need a lot of things to go their way as well, even if they have talent or it looks good on paper.
I feel like the only two teams that are complete, it would be pretty complete heading in the whole season if they didn't make any moves, is Oklahoma City, obviously, and Denver. I feel like those two teams are pretty much set and have everything you need to win a championship. Houston would be next, but again, you're also counting on the fact that Thompson's going to significantly improve. And Şengün, I think they will. They're talented players, but that's kind of a team that you're projecting what they're going to be. I just feel like the Lakers are a total wild card in the West. I feel like they could kind of go anywhere. Some people are saying
I saw somebody yesterday. It was like they could be 4th or 10th.
And that's fair. I see some people in the chat think I'm crazy for that. I get it. If you think they're like 8th and you're not sold on it, I understand. They're a hard team to handicap, but they also have, I think, a greater upside than some teams like Minnesota, the Clippers. I think the upside of the Lakers is higher than some of the other teams in the West.
And that's probably just, complete superstar status. Now, don't get me wrong. They got a superstar in Anthony Edwards, but if Luka has an MVP caliber year and, what can that mean? I mean, how they got the number now that we sit here, it's like how the hell they got the number 3 seed last year is also just with the glaring weaknesses that they had is pretty amazing as well.
With the 6-pack in Greece right now?
What's that?
Do you see Luka with his 6-pack in Greece right now?
I can't do the whole. I find it very funny that Luka's in shape and everybody's like, oh my God, the guy's in shape. I'm like, he's an NBA basketball player. I mean, are we asking for too much to be in shape? Maybe what's more amazing is that when he's not in shape, he's still dropping 30 on these other NBA players. But I have a difficult time.
Yeah.
I have a difficult time trying to give him credit for being in shape. I'm like, guys, LeBron, we've never had a conversation about LeBron being in shape. That's supposed to be a given. Moves will happen now with Beal getting signed. Okay, so I got in here in some of my notes as well of just a few things to get into. And by the way, if you guys got thoughts, comments, feel free to throw them in. I'll do my best to try to get to them. And if you throw a super in, 100%, the super will get read. All right, so I read this story. Let's see what we got here. I read this story yesterday. Lakers reportedly focused on acquiring a point of attack defender. Okay, so Dan Weinke and Joe Varden of The Athletic. Team is focused on addressing the issue. The Lakers have additional roster work to do. The team can create a roster spot by waiving guard Shake Milton. To be honest with you, I think, for Shake Milton, he's been used. I've heard his name 60 times this offseason. It has nothing to do with his play. It has to do with, we'll just waive Shake Milton.
Yeah.
And team sources have said that improving the team's point of attack defense is a priority. I was looking at some of the different free agents that are still available, and I'm going to kind of list off a few here, and you tell me if there's a name or two, and those that are chiming in on the chat as well, you can, obviously feel free to put your opinion as well. Here are a couple names that I'll throw out there. I'm not talking about restricted free agents. Let's just take them off the board. There's no need to talk about them. These are just players that the Lakers can actually sign. Josh Okogie is obviously the one from Charlotte that just became available. Keep him in mind. But let me just kind of list off all the players that are there. Some of them might be a point of attack defender. Some might have nothing to do with that. Dame, kind of leave that alone. Obviously he's not going to be available this year. Al Horford's name is still out there. Amir Coffey is a name that comes up. Precious Achua is a name that comes up. Gary Payton II, I'm starting to hear that name a lot more over these last couple of days. And if you're asking for a point of attack defender, that kind of fits the mold, as does Josh Okogie. He also fits the mold in that. I saw Malcolm Brogdon's name come up as well. And then I see Ben Simmons' name come up as well. Of all the names that I just kind of mentioned right there, I'll take it Ben Simmons is not one of them. Of all the names I mentioned right there, any of those guys you think would be a good fit for the Lake Show?
I think Okogie would be fantastic, as well as Coffee. I mean, you're talking about, I'm with Young. Like Okogie, that'd be a fun, I think you could sell that. That's like, this is a guy who could be around for a little ways. Gary Payton is, yes, if the Lakers are like going into the playoffs and they're a month out, not that he'll still be a free agent when he's there, but yes, for a series, he'd be great. Gary Payton doesn't really say something for the next year. And maybe that's not the case. Maybe you're just looking for a point of attack defender for this season alone.
Which, to be honest with you, I don't know if the Lakers would shy away from that. I think that there is a little bit of keeping all your options open. You know, that it doesn't sound like at the most the Lakers are looking at 2-year deals. And I don't even think they'd shy completely away from grabbing a guy for a year.
Well, that's why the Jake LaRavia signing of, some people are like, who is this guy? Like, he hasn't played a lot. It's kind of a projection. I'd much rather have a projection taking a chance on a guy that's 23 that can go up versus the 1 year where, remember, it was Rondo and Carmelo, and I mean, sure, everyone was like over age 30 on that team. And it was a hard watch because now you obviously got young players with Luka and Reeves and guys like that. You have Vando, but it's hard to count on Vando because he's never on the floor. When he's on the floor, he's fantastic. But yeah, I think Coffee, Mr. TD is right on this one. Coffee and Kogi would be great adds to this team. What about you?
Yeah, okay. So I'm with you on the youth. I don't mind Gary Payton II. Watching him in Golden State, I felt like there were a lot of times he always had some kind of nagging injury and he wasn't always there for them. But he kind of brings a certain toughness to the game. Looks like that's a good locker room type of player to have. So I'm okay with that as well. What I don't want to see the Lakers do, I think at this point, there's some other names out there. Not that any of these are going to be associated with the Lakers, but if they went out and got Russ or Chris Paul or something like that, even Ben Simmons, to be honest with you, I think at this point, you're just looking at names like that and you're like, all right, just give me a player where I know there isn't this big ego coming in, just somebody kind of walking into the door saying, whatever the hell you need me to do, then I'm going to do it. But I think this also kind of brings up a little bit of, the point of if this is it, then really what you're looking at is they're either going to be making a trade to acquire additional real talent to make a difference this upcoming season, or that's it. They're walking into next season with what they have, with plus maybe another one addition or something like that. And that's going to be the team that you're kind of rolling up your sleeves for. And maybe that's the type of squad that LeBron was hoping was not going to happen, because you are obviously starting from behind trying to catch up with everybody else.
Someone just said in the chat, but there is the buyout market at the deadline. And I know we don't like to always hear that. That's far off in the future. But like the first half of the season is going to be really interesting because, well, we're going to take Luka out of it because we're assuming he signs a 2-year deal. If he doesn't, then, we'll know. I'm assuming Luka's not going to leave because that would be a colossal disaster. We're going to put that aside. Austin Reeves, the other guy, who are you going to pay him? What's going to happen? How does this team do the first couple months of the season, where if you're sitting up there towards the top of the West, you're like, this is a real run to the finals. If they're struggling early, is someone getting dealt? Is it not Luka, but like Reeves or someone like that? Are you going to be acquiring 3-and-D defenders? Injuries obviously play into this, but there's some guys out there that I do think could help. I mean, all these names are certainly guys that on a minimum, would certainly help the team.
Okay, you just said Luka. I talked a little bit about this yesterday. I think what do you think his thoughts are so far on being a Los Angeles Laker? I think that, it's definitely not Dallas. It's definitely not the Mavericks. It's definitely That the type of attention that comes to the Lakers is typically wild. I think, like everybody else, you're expecting Luka to re-sign and have an extension. It's just going to be a matter of how many years, and he'll be strategic about it so he can also make the absolute most he can absolutely make once he's 10 years into the league and goes from there. How do you think he looks at the situation? It's funny. We've spent so much time talking about LeBron and his thoughts on the team and everything else. Do you think he's happy with the current situation? You think he's kind of like, all right, well, this is just going to be a little transition period? What do you think he thinks?
I'm obviously not Luka Doncic, but watching that interview that he did for the playoffs with Malika Andrews, and he talked about how you could just see how much it like frustrated him that he felt like betrayed by the Mavericks. And he talked about how, I remember Trae Young or someone retweeted it. It was like, damn, he was going to spend his whole career there. Yeah. And they asked him, like, he was going to be there. He talked about how when he was a 18-year-old kid, he was drafted. He felt like just the sense of like the city embraced him. And then they kind of the city didn't turn their back on him. Nico Harrison turned their back on him in management. The Lakers, to what everyone said about the Lakers, have rolled out the red carpet. I mean, they have done everything.
And they typically do for their stars. I mean, if there's one thing that, if you're a star player and you end up with the Lakers, you're kind of going to get anything that you want. They understand the value of stars.
Right. And it's like,
especially
where are you going to go?
26-year-old.
I mean, where are they traded for you? They traded assets for you. They traded Anthony Davis, who was a star player here, won a championship with the Lakers. I mean, I would be completely shocked if he were to go. That would be a disaster. But I would be shocked.
The good thing is I don't think there's any indications of it. So I think you would get. I mean, unless something shocking happened, but I think that. Typically, if there was some concern, I think some of these reporters would know if there's some concern, and there's just been nothing, obviously leading to that.
Well, and it feels like all the reports, they keep going, oh, he's not going to sign the 4-year deal. But that's not that. They're not saying that that's because he doesn't want to be a Laker. It's because he wants to come up in maybe 2 years and get the extra money when the salary cap goes up and the CBA and everything. So I would be completely shocked. Yeah, young star, face of the franchise in LA. That seems pretty hard to pass up.
Okay, Sammy, I'm going to do one more thing here. Let me see if I could kind of coordinate while we're both on here together. This one will take us off the NBA front here for a quick second, or keep us on the NBA, but it was take us off the Lakers here for a quick second. I don't know if you heard those comments yesterday, but I'm gonna put this up here. So yesterday, there's a show out there called Road Trippin'. It's a podcast. Richard Jefferson, Shannon Fry, Allie Clifton, who does, Lakers work as well from Spectrum. I think Perkins is on there as well, but this one didn't have it. They were chatting a little bit yesterday about the USA and kind of where they are compared to the rest of the world. Did you get a chance to listen to it at all? I'm going to play it here if you didn't.
No.
Okay. Take a listen here. Richard Jefferson is basically talking about the next time, obviously, the USA is in the Olympics and USA men's basketball, how it will look next time around when these countries are playing against each other. Take a listen. I'm going to play a little bit of it. Let's take a listen to Richard Jefferson.
The U.S. will not win gold in Los Angeles, California. Boom.
I'm sorry, say what?
Hold on now.
What did you say?
I said you went from white people mild to Louisiana explosions. Richard, where is your thinking from that? Please stop that.
What did you say? Say it again.
Please stop that.
I said that the U.S. will not win gold in L.A. in 3 years.
Oh, God. That boy, listen, the Modelos.
Y'all, you asked for a hot take.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there. Here's why I want to ask you that question. We look at the game today, and he goes on to making, a number of different cases. And I think his case is actually kind of interesting, and I'll tell you why. The point that he was trying to make is, you see how the USA won the gold this past, last year when they won the gold. The point he's trying to make is it was Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Joel Embiid, and, I don't know who was closing the games. Was it AD? I can't remember who was closing the games.
I think AD closed, but
okay.
Maybe he sat out, yeah.
Basically what he's saying is 4 out of those 5 guys, 100%, 3 of those 5 guys, they're not going to be there. the next time that in 2028 to go try to, obviously defend their Olympic gold. And the other thing that the point that he was making is the United States is not cropping bigs anymore. And the bigs now, a lot of these guys are coming from Europe, whether you could say Wemby or Nikola Jokic or whatever the case is. I thought, when people initially hear it, I think they want to be, what are you talking about? USA will beat everybody this. I think he makes a great point. And it took, in his words, I think a Herculean effort or something like that for the United States to eventually win the gold. I thought it was really interesting. What do you make of? What's kind of your first take on that?
Where's our patriotism, Al? Where's our flag in LA?
Well, we tell the truth.
Yeah,
let's not get blinded by the. No. You don't want my opinion. I like underdogs, so I'll take. I could be American and still be rooting for the underdog story. I can. I definitely can.
Oh no. Yes. In theory, everyone's gotten better. So we saw France was really good. Canada's got a really good team with Shea, and not that Dylan Brooks is great, but there's a team of NBA players. So yes, could they get beat? 100%. I think what he's not, and to the bigs point, yes, that's true that all the kind of bigs are coming from overseas, but they're not traditional bigs. We don't really we're not seeing Joel Embiid type bigs. We're seeing Wemby hybrid, kind of Kevin Durant type bigs. Jokic is a
triple double, which is not necessarily your standard big.
So everyone, it was kind of the old guard that won it, but let's also think where Jason Tatum's going to be, where Tyrese Halliburton's going to be, where Anthony Edwards is going to be.
Do those guys, do you think those guys, here's my only problem with those players. None of them are in the class of the players we're talking about right now. These are all they're top 10 players of all time. The jump that some of these guys got to take, maybe they are there. Maybe Anthony Edwards, by the time he's 26 years old, we're having a completely different conversation, but we're literally talking about the greatest to ever play the game. I don't think we're ever going to have that association with some of the players that you mentioned.
That's true. And
I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong.
So someone mentioned, you need Cooper Flag to be great. There's guys coming in who are young, talented players. I think where the U.S. separates, though, and why they still will be the betting favorite going into LA in 2028 is the depth that USA has is second to none. Hey, there we go. LeBron's going to give you 10 off the bench. You know what I mean?
By the way, the 15, 5, and 8 in 2028, he probably still will be able to do that.
I'm sure he could in 2028. Come on, get 15 points. That's not. I mean, because if you take France, like what? So what? Wemby and Gobert. Gobert's going to be old. Wemby's going to be fantastic, probably winning MVPs at that time.
They got some aging players as well that they were, that they had as far as some of their guards and stuff like that. But I don't know enough about the country. I just know that other countries were hanging with the USA this year, and they were hanging with a roster that was, it can't get any better than the roster.
I also will say, though, this year's roster was probably interesting to coach. And if it was anyone else besides Steve Kerr, they probably wouldn't have won because you have all these veteran, fantastic players, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, LeBron James, all this stuff. But then you also have the young guard coming in, your Halliburtons, your Anthony Edwards.
Devin Booker.
Devin Booker's another one. Like, it's weird to think that those guys didn't get a lot of time because they shouldn't have. The older guys deserved it. I think this whole narrative, everyone's thinking the U.S. is losing basketball. Will there be other countries that have legit chances? Yes. I'm still with the U.S.
USA or the field?
USA, baby. Alan, we need the patriotism in here, dude.
I got the field. I'm with Richard Jefferson. I'm with him. I actually think by the time we get to 2028, I don't know how much another advantage that some of these, other countries have, they do play together a lot more. There is this, I think it's kind of underestimated that there is this natural chemistry that they have together that I don't think is always the USA wins typically because they just got the better players, but that doesn't typically mean that that's going to equate. I think the point that I'm making is you lose Steph Curry, you lose KD, and you lose LeBron. Just losing those three players and the impact they've had in USA basketball, that's such a seismic, you could say 3 of the top 10 to 15 players to ever play the game. That's obviously that's as big as it gets there.
Are you saying that the team is not taking practice seriously out in Vegas for training camp?
I don't know. It's a good question. We're gonna have to find out. I don't know how
They might
serious
need
they're
to put it
taking
in
it
a
in Vegas.
place where there's less distractions.
Yes.
Like Montana would be fantastic. Sorry, I didn't went from Montana. Just put it out there, middle of
Do
a
everything in Salt Lake City. They're like,
Salt
yeah,
Lake
this
City.
will work. Yeah,
There's no
this will
trouble
work.
in
Here.
Salt Lake City.
No trouble at all.
Yeah.
All right, Sammy, get the hell out of here. I know you're busy today. You got other stuff going on. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for coming on. Great opinion as always. Thank you for joining the show. All right, buddy.
You're the best, brother. Thank you,
All right,
everybody.
we'll see you next week. That is Sammy Long right there, breaking it down. It's funny. I think a lot of people thought Richard Jefferson, he's crazy. Is this? I don't think he is. I think there's merit to some of the stuff that he was talking about. All right, let's see what we got here. Teams play better when they play a lot. It's common sense, of course, and they're definitely playing more together and more time together. I feel like USA, it's always kind of like put together last second. It's like a pickup game, but they're just so talented. They're like, yeah, we'll take on the rest of the world. We'll get 2 practices in, and we'll still take on the rest of the world. Brown, Tatum, Ant, and Flag. I'll be honest with you. I that is not a squad that scares me from a international perspective, from an international perspective. Similar to NCAA tournament, older teams with more time together do well. 100%. Okay. I got a couple other things to get into, a couple NBA stories, and then we're going to call it a day. Let's get this one in. Al Horford, hurry up and choose the Lakers. I think every indication is going to go to the Warriors. I think this is similar to the Bradley Beal one, where everyone is thinking that that's what it's going to be. Halliburton will not be in the team in 2028. Oh, no, he will be. I think he will be, especially because he was there this year as well. Let's see what we have here. Okay, let's keep rolling here. Let me get a couple NBA topics in. I told you guys I'm probably going to have to bounce here right at 9, but let me get a couple other NBA topics in here real quick. Sixer star. Close this real quick. Sixer star Joel Embiid addresses narratives, talks James Harden. I thought this was interesting. He did an interview, in a candid interview with ESPN's Doton Akintoye. I hope that I pronounced that right. Here's a couple things that Embiid said about his narratives. Let's actually, you know what? Let's share this. Let's try to put this together so you guys can look at it as well. No, actually, you know what? I'm just going to read the tweet, or I'm going to read a couple of the quotes here. The interesting one to me is just kind of the narrative on him specifically. Here's what he said. He said, it's not making excuses. When you're hurt every year and everybody knows it, it's the truth. Now, do you believe if he was 100%, does he have what it takes to have a chance at winning? I think a lot of people believe that. I think a lot of people believe that because I've shown it in the regular season when I was healthy. What if I did this and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to chill all season, coast and average 25 or 20, and in the playoffs, I average 30. Would that make me look great? Probably. If I went from averaging 23 to 30, a playoff riser, oh my God, Joel Jordan, whatever. He goes to talk about a couple different series that he had. He's trying to change a little bit of the narrative. No one is a winner until they've done it. I'm fine with that narrative because I haven't done it. Charles Barkley, great player, right? But he never won. Allen Iverson never won. But that doesn't mean they weren't great. They were amazing. Everybody leads in his own way. I lead on the court. Embiid definitely has got some work to do in regards to, you know, his narrative and just being healthy and being available. I'm a big Embiid fan. I like his, from a personality perspective. I think he's a good fit in Philly. The problem is he's just not there, and he's not there enough. They kind of got a mess going on there with PG as well. I'm going to read one last thing that he said about James Harden. I got one thing on Chris Paul, and we'll call it a day. No one knows this, but even James Harden is not talking to me. That's the part I don't like about being that guy, because it puts you in the middle of those situations. Because if you ask James, he probably believes I had something to do with him not being here. And I'm just like, I won the scoring title. You won the assist title. We had a pick and roll that was unstoppable. So I guess him and James Harden have no relationship at all. See what happens to Embiid. I hate seeing it for him, but that man, the problem is Joel Embiid at the end of the day got to have just got to be on the court, and he hasn't been able to be on the court. Last thing that I'm going to read here is a quick something from Shams that I saw yesterday. Was this yesterday or this morning? This was last night. The one need for the Clippers right now is the point guard position, a reverse guard coming off the bench. I'm told they have Chris Paul on their radar among some other free agent guards as well. I don't expect them to make any immediate decisions yet. Chris Paul probably favored to go to the Los Angeles Clippers. So something to keep in mind there. All right, my people. We are at the 1 hour mark. I appreciate you guys hanging out today. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. I'll be back on tomorrow for a Friday of the Sliwa show. So back on tomorrow right at 8 a.m. Thank you for being a part of the show. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the morning.